Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, and buonasera, Lazio world. I'm your host, Sean McIntosh, here for a little stoppage time following Lazio Torino with my co-host, Caleb Adams. Caleb, we're back,
Let's
baby. We're
go.
back. 3 points in the bag, much needed. How you feeling?
I feel great. You asked for the three words or less in the beginning of how to describe this match, and for me, it's what we needed. That's it. We needed a bounce back win. We needed to show to not really the league, but we need to show ourselves that hey, like we still got it. Like we're a good team. We're good individual players. We just have to put together a solid performance and get it done. Just get the job done, and we did it today. Got a clean sheet, which is also a huge benefit, huge bonus as well. So wins all around.
Yep. Yeah, my 3 words or less is job done
Yeah.
because it didn't matter how we did it. It didn't need to necessarily be pretty. I think, and we'll talk about positives and run of play and all of that. But we just needed 3 points, and we
Mm-hmm.
needed to get a job done, and we needed to put ourselves in a position to just come back and stake claim to 3 points and make sure that we don't allow any of the other contenders and Champions League spots to just completely slip away from us this early in the season. So
Yeah.
for me, job done. You mentioned it, clean sheet, needed it. He
Mm-hmm.
absolutely needed it for the confidence of the defensive unit and for everybody else. So where do you think this match was won?
This match was won for me in Rovella. Quite literally, and that also he's my man of the match personally, because we in the we talk about the midfield, but the midfield was fluid. It wasn't shaky. Like we've seen sort of shaky moments of our midfield where it's just like, where's the cohesion? Where's sort of that extra sharpness? And Rovella provided a lot of that today. He made us incredibly fluid. We look much smoother on the ball. We look like we were in control. Whereas in the past and previous games, we look more so we're kind of like trying to figure it out. Whereas in this game, it's like, hey, we know what we're doing. Now let's get into a rhythm. And so we started a bit, I would say good enough, but a bit kind of slow, a bit stagnant. The attack was still sort of lacking in the final third. But as the game progressed, we got a little sharper, a little quicker. Our movement got better, and I think a lot of that credit goes to Ravella and how he was able to orchestrate the game from that position. I mean, he made little to no mistakes today.
Yeah, I think one of the things I noticed early on is, you're right. It wasn't the most fluid of play. We're
Yeah,
still lacking crisp passing and some understanding in the final third. But I did think there was some more
yeah,
energy, and you saw a better job pressing
hmm
and putting pressure and putting Torino in some positions where they were uncomfortable getting it out of the back, playing it out of the back, and so that's what we want to see. We just want to see them go out there and give an effort,
yeah,
and it translated in a number of different areas. So for me, the match was won. Oh, right off the bat,
yeah,
just coming with the right mentality more than anything, and
yeah, yeah.
in terms of players that stood out, a great shout from Rovella, changed the way that we ultimately played.
The way we built out of the back, particularly, is the main difference that I saw. Like in terms of his influence, we were just able to build a whole lot better.
Yeah, and providing more support and balance for our center backs
Yeah,
so that the pressure wasn't just completely on the back line. But for me, I want to give it to Zaccagni.
hmm
Obviously, a classy finish. And it's another match for him. That's a strong one, and much needed.
yeah,
And we were worried to start the season because we didn't see the Zaccagni that was so critical to this
hmm
team's success
hmm
last year. And I texted you, Zaccagni's back. And for me, that goal, it was just picture perfect. It's what he does really, really well. And
hmm
I thought, again, he came with the right energy, put his head down, and he puts so much pressure on an opposing team and forces them to foul. And I just I love what I'm seeing from him, and if we can continue to get that, we scored so many goals from our wingers
Yeah.
last year, and we need that, particularly when we'll talk about our bidone, and for me, it was Cheeto.
Mm,
Uh, it was
yeah.
a tough one from him. And look again, it's for me, it's about being fair. He's not always getting the greatest service,
Yeah.
and he didn't have a ton of opportunities. And so what we need from him is he's got to be confident. He's got to get a little bit, hopefully, the Luis Alberto's, and Rovellas can provide better service to him. But when he does have opportunities right now, he's not as confident to
Mhm.
either take them, pounce on them, or finish them.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity that he just had a really tough first touch on
Mhm.
in the box,
Yeah.
where when you have a confident Cheetah, he either takes that right away, or his touch is just a little bit sharper. And so for me, and I think the good news is that by at least for me, and obviously I'll give you the opportunity to share yours, but I think that there wasn't a ton of negatives. There wasn't a player that really
No.
stunk today. So what about you? Who was your bidone?
Cheeto was for me as well. Like for all the reasons that you mentioned, we've seen a Cheeto where even from half chances, he's been able to create magic, and we have yet to see that version of Cheeto. I think this season where he's gotten so close, he has hit the post, has been unlucky. It could have very easily been, 2 or 3 goals in his name that were almost out of nothing, right? Really difficult chances. So to be fair with him, he has gotten a bit unlucky in that part, but sort of that killer Cheeto hasn't really showed up this season just yet. And again, Cheeto is also a guy that tends to favor more chances and scoring opportunities rather than being a super clinical one shot, one finish kind of guy. He very much is a quantity over quality guy, as we discussed in the past. And there hasn't been a lot of quantity this season, to be fair to him. But I think in this game, he did get the ball in better positions than normal. Like he wasn't having to drop back into midfield to get the ball, which he's had to do in a lot of previous games just to get and build up. I think he had a lot of he had the opportunity to have a lot of touches in the box. He just was sort of just miscontrolling them and just wasn't. He was just off. But like you said, I don't think anyone had a particularly awful game. I thought Cheeto just particularly shined because everyone else was pretty good today.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's such a positive sign to see,
yeah,
because Cheeto for so many years has had to save this team,
mhm,
has had to be the one to come up big, has had to save them from the clutches of defeat. And
yeah,
now it's time for everybody else to pick it up while he's not at his best right now. And so I have all the confidence in the world, because there are signs that we'll see the Cheetah that we're used to, but it is on everybody else. So when you have the likes of Zakani now, having a performance like today, and a shout out to Vecino, who obviously scored a goal, but continues to impress. And he was a player that could have really looked like he was on the outside of a really
yeah,
strong midfield unit. So for him to come in a couple matches and already perform, just adds to the depth of this team. What do you think
yeah.
of Vecino's performance?
I'm glad that you mentioned him because I also wanted to touch on him. I think one of the you talk about the way we came out and press. I think a lot of it came down to Vecino, who has been sort of a catalyst for that energy. He's a guy that's pressed really. I think he's been our best sort of box. He's been our best box to box midfielder this season. I mean, straight up. In the minutes that he's played, he's done a really good job of getting into the rhythm of games, setting sort of the tempo for the rest of the midfield. He's long and lanky. He's able to reach those like tough interceptions and make those tackles that some other midfielders can't in our team. And I think he's taken his chances really well. And credit to him, because I think a lot of us wrote him off, including myself. Be the first to admit. but I think he's really sort of stepped up his game. And, that's also, is that a credit to the quality that we're bringing in the transfer window, right? Vecino's like, oh man, like there's a lot of quality coming in here. Like I'm going to be snuffed out if I'm not stepping up. Right. And
And he's an experienced player.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
for him, he's able to navigate these situations and
yeah.
lift up some of the players around him during a little bit of a funk. So obviously a very useful player, particularly when we have players, in our midfield that are so young,
Yeah.
inexperienced when it comes to play in Serie A, like Kamada and
Yeah.
Gendouzi and Rovella's super young, and you got now guys like Isaacson on the squad that are
Mhm.
all learning and trying to figure it out. And having a player like Vecino who has played for the likes of Inter and has been around this league,
Yeah.
it's
Huge.
yeah, absolutely huge for this team. We've been unfortunate and on the side of some negativity and some tough results, and we've had to pull out the panic meter far too often than I would like so early into the season. But let's talk a little bit about on the flip side, a hype meter.
Mm.
Where do you rank us 1 to 10 on like a confidence scale that we're back, that you feel good about this squad? On a scale of 1 to 10, what does this performance do for you?
For me, it's a very tentative 5. I don't think we were ever out of it. I never thought we were like, oh yeah, we're done for the season. I still had, I still had not just hope but belief that hey, this is just a stage, an era that we're in. Like just a bad sort of season. However, I think this performance, if it had been a loss, that would have really rung the alarm bells. But this for me is just like getting back to neutral. We're back
Yep.
to now neutral. We were in the negatives before. We're back at 0. Like this is the bare minimum for me, in my opinion. This is like where we need to be at, taking care of business at home against an opponent we should be beating. A decent one at that. Like they're not awful. This is a decent opponent. So for me, we're back to neutral. So we'll keep that hype meter at like 5. We're back on track. That's it.
Yeah. We talked about this being a must win. So I think you're right. This is us being absolutely back on track. We can feel okay. A little bit of a sigh of relief more than anything.
Yeah.
And again, job done. Let's move forward and move forward. We have to do, because we're off to San Siro this
Yeah.
Saturday against a really good Milan side that is flying high, that bounced back against their derby loss,
Yep.
and has bounced back in a way that we have to be cautious. We have to be smart. We've got to go into this one with the right mentality, and fortunate that this team has always, been up to big matches. But I think
Mhm.
now we use this match ahead against Milan to really see what this team is. I think
Yeah.
this, for me, that's, and I want to look at the positives, and I want to look ahead. And, for me, this match on Saturday is a statement opportunity,
Yeah.
right? Care of business here. We have one big scalp this year against Napoli, and here's another opportunity to remind everybody, that this team was second place in the league
Yeah.
last year, and that we do have some ambitions to finish in the top 4 again. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm looking forward to this match. It's going to be so much about performance, and if we can get out of it with a draw and a strong performance, I'll be happy. That'll give me enough to feel good about the direction. What about you? What do you want to see on Saturday?
I think a respectable performance, like you said. I think a performance of, as again what you said, making a statement of, hey guys, we've had a rough start, but we're still a tough team. We're still a good team. You still need to watch out for us. We're still a genuine top 4 contenders, and it's a really great opportunity to do so. Um, I think it will be also a gauge of like our depth as well, right? Like we'll see how we come out against Milan. Like I'm assuming Kamada is going to be starting that game simply from the fact that he started the Napoli game, played really well in that game, didn't play today. So I think that Sadi decided to opt to rest him for the Milan game, and also to see. For me, it's also going to be like, okay, this is a big game. who is Sadi entrusting in this game? For me, it's going to be pretty telling who he starts this game. Like, will Ravella start again? I don't know. He played a full 90 today, but is that because Sadi wanted to rotate, or Sadi generally believes, like, hey, this is the guy for me in the 6? If Ravella starts again against Milan, for me, it's very clear of this is my guy at the 6, and Cataldi will then become a depth option right at that point. So yeah, so for me, statement piece, keep the momentum going, keep it going. We don't want to be like the Napoli game where we get a good result and then just drop off the next game. We don't want to do that whole up and down thing. Consistency is the key. It's a long season, and the consistency will pay off in the long term. But
well, I mentioned job done today, and you know, one of the things that we were able to accomplish was putting ourselves in a semi-comfortable situation. A 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead in the sport, but we were able to rest guys. So taking off Cheeto, taking off Zaccagni, getting Vecino off the field, those were really important, minutes to rest up for Saturday. So again, a 2-goal lead, putting ourselves in a position, absolutely job done. So big one on Saturday. So this episode's going to be a little bit shorter for us. Midweek matches, we've got to work midweek. So but always want to make sure we're jumping on. We're giving you guys some insights, some instant reactions. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms. We're throwing out as much content as possible for you guys. So, on Twitter, we're at Lazio World. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. Follow us on and subscribe to this podcast. Help us grow. We want to be able to do more of this. So by liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and then across those audio podcasts, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, big for us to give us those 5-star ratings and comment and help us grow. But we'll see you guys post-match on Saturday after the Milan one. As always, sempre Forza Lazio.